Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today so thankful for the many blessings that you bestow upon us, the beautiful weather that's outside. We'd ask you for some rain, Lord. We're beginning to get dry. You send it when we need it, and we know that. We thank you for it in advance. Lord, continue to bless this nation, to help us through this tremendous sickness that we've been through and heal those that have been afflicted, and certainly keep your hands on our first responders, our medical teams, and everybody that's been there every day. The list is too long to keep the wheels turning while we get through this terrible time. Lord, we trust you. We'll follow you. We'd ask you to bless this court this morning and help us with the decisions that we make. Bless this country, Lord. We pray to you in the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, sir. Y'all join in, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now Texas flag, please.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take a seat, please. I ask this time we have any public comments. Hearing none. Ask the court to take action on the consent agenda.
Very lengthy agenda, Judge. I've been through it. I'd make a motion that we approve it.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Any items need clarification? Anyone in the audience?
A lot of bills being paid.
Yes, sir.
You might note, Judge, that item 19 and item somewhere there's another invoice right here. Item 4, item 19. It's just a name change in the company. It's the same company that we bid out. They just changed from Roadside to IVM Solutions. So.
Just to note, item 17, that does close out the Amoresco project in full. They are sending somebody back up next week again to work with our staff, more training and do some more building adjustments. So,
Mark, could we maybe have a standardized monthly report that they're bouncing off of 3-year numbers that they're working against now that we've got up and rolling?
energy savings report,
Yeah.
I can get with the auditor. I guess we can.
They don't have any software designed to do that. How does Amoresco track that?
How do they know if they've been successful?
Yeah. How do they know?
They look at our bills.
They'll look at our bills.
Usage.
I know, but they surely have software that generates a report, I would think. Or,
They'll have to get our bills from us. We have to.
but isn't that part of the deal?
Yeah, they were going to show us how.
Yeah, we'll have to get. I'll have to get back with them and find out. There's a mechanism that they have to get our bills, and we have to have it audited once every year too. So, but I don't recall the whole mechanism at this point.
Well, it'd be nice if there was something like they know where we've been, and they have that number. That's what they were shooting at to begin with, and if we could see the go-forward number, it'd be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's got to be in order to know whether they owe us money. So
Exactly.
it's gotta be done every year. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 1 on general business, review and approve the regular bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the bills? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss or take action on proposal presented by First National Bank Leasing for lease of 12 2020 PPV Chevrolet Tahoes and one 2020 Chevrolet SSV 4x4 Crew Cab Silverado for the Sheriff's Office with a lease payment of $292,477.88 due in 2021, 2022, and 2023 for 13 vehicles.
Yes, sir. In the Sheriff's Office 2020 budget, we had a $350,000 set aside for our fleet maintenance or for the, to replace some of these vehicles every year. Every year, y'all allow us that much to replace. We've got those 2014 Tahoes that we purchased back in 2014, anywhere from 160 to 180,000 right now. We're doing a lot of repairs on them, we're keeping them on the roads, but it's time that we need to replace those. So we worked together at getting some quotes together, and then we contacted Caldwell. Caldwell gave us the quotes. I gave you all those handouts earlier, but those quotes have the base price of
34,160.
yes, and then the quote for Cat Fleet for each one of those vehicles is $24,086, and that's going to include also radars and the WatchGuard video cameras, which are that's what makes it more expensive in this.
I remember that.
And so, then we knew that we needed another vehicle for, replacing some of our unmarked. We need one really bad for, we have a 2007 Tahoe that, Lieutenant Boyd's been driving, we need to replace it. And, so we asked for this other pickup, Chevrolet half-ton, which it would be, also outfitted with the police package, and so it came out to, got the notes here somewhere.
50,655.
Right. And putting all that together, we was looking at it with the help of Commissioner Watts. We were looking at doing this through a lease program type deal, and we contacted Stuart Cobb, was the first bank, and we've been working with him. I asked him to join us today. I hope he's on the phone, teleconference, that he can explain all the particulars about the bank, how it's set up on the lease.
Is Stuart on?
Sir, are you on?
I am.
All right, thanks, sir. We'll call it this minute. Chief, something threw me in this. You all, in your budget request for this year, asked for 7 vehicles. Now,
7 vehicles was staying under that 350,000, but we were looking at this to lease it and do this by scattering it out. That way we could get those 12. That's exactly how many of the 2014 Tahoes that we had. We could replace those that way.
Harold, then we bought 15 of those,
We did.
but 2 of them are gone.
one burned up the first
One of them
year.
burned up.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, our average was pretty good. But we had one, and by the way, we didn't get insurance paid off. That one anyway, not the burnt one. That was
Yeah.
just deputy error.
Well, and that price, Darrell, on those cars was less than I had expected, with you getting a little bit more than we had typically thought. 55 was kind of our mark, and you come in just over 50, so
Right.
that's.
But yeah, that 55 was before that we bought those cameras and put on the cars. This includes those cameras.
Oh, yeah.
It includes the radios too.
The radars. No, the radars, well, we are
Radio-
looking at
radios.
this. It's an added, it's in this lease figure that he's put together. That's another 3,200 with striping and the radios. Too.
we absolutely sure we need any more radars out? Are we absolutely positive?
Daryl, now,
We're a little selective right now.
something that,
I bet so.
something that tweaks this a little bit, and I know Stuart's here. The judge had asked me about the end of last week, and I told him that I would certainly look into this. Because the commissioners have not decided, or the commissioners court has not decided what the best approach on our upcoming
2020.
maintenance tax-free note that we're doing, just with the uncertainty of everything. So with that being said, I had asked Stuart from the get-go, we had to, under advisement of Murphy Davis, do taxable notes. So Stuart had done 2 trucks. On here is a Caterpillar we've done with him as well, excavator. And they are taxable notes. Now, there is uncertainty whether that's going to happen. And we may need to convert. And we've had other interests now develop that says, hey, we've got good money and we've got cheap money. So they want to interject, and so, which ultimately could bring your number down, even though it's qualified with where it's at right now. But there's no sense in not saving the money at this time. So it's not going to take anybody very long, including Stuart, to sharpen the pencil and bring that back to us quickly.
So you are gonna bid the financing out?
Yeah, on a tax qualifying note, so that the interest rate we were looking at was closer to 5, we should be looking something half or less than half of that.
Yeah.
Non-taxable note. And it would appear, looking at this, Willie and I talked this morning briefly, and in the work on trying to guess what our revenue is this year. We've had difficulties for part of the year on knowing what our receipts, other than taxes, due to some problems with the new software. The second thing is a lot of court procedures, fine and fee collection, all of that has slowed down for the last 6 weeks. And I'm not sure when we're going to see that change. Because I think the last date I saw from the Supreme Court of Texas is that courts, as usual, will not operate until after May 30th. So that's even longer, a delay of filings and things, and then we're going to have this launch in here wherever that is open. People haven't been paying their rent, people haven't been paying their payment agreements on fines and fees. I'm going to hope we have a line out the door to pay up and catch up. But, depending on who's still unemployed, what their circumstances are, we're going to estimate revenue where we're going to wind up this year and where we're going to wind up next year. It's going to be extraordinarily tough. And, people got their property evaluations, which came in the middle of the COVID event, many of them unemployed or laid off or not receiving a paycheck. They didn't appreciate the gain in their value. And so we are looking at, we went up nearly 400 million in the county's tax base. That then, when you go up, tax rate automatically goes down. And so we're looking at probably from where we took in everybody's budget, things were pretty good looking, that we'd be able to do some of the things being requested. But even even those requests exceeded the 3.5 cents, which is the maximum we can go. And I'm gonna say right now, it's gonna be tough to consider anything above that effective rate. And so when we look whether it's this or anything else, long-term purchases, they sound good. The way I read this, there's no residual payment in this. With those 3 payments, they will be free and clear. Is that at least what we've looked at?
I think that's what I read.
What you're saying is you're gonna get those.
Correct.
We're gonna have everybody,
Now, the question is, we know that there will be someone to underwrite these vehicles. We're moving forward though, correct? So, if Willie could help prepare that statement, Willie, so we see it correctly and we see apples to apples on the taxable, non-taxable, because we do need to get clarification from Murphy as to what do we obligate ourselves to either direction. Does it encumber next year if we make this decision?
that is a market, but I'm thinking when you borrow the money, what you're recognizing is borrowing that whole $900,000. So that goes for this year, and with us not anticipating borrowing that money this year, next year it will stand completely on its own, and we hope it should have much clearer regular revenues and income. So,
Is a taxable note less restrictive than a non-taxable? Is that the big advantage of it?
No, the bank, or Stuart, you can speak to that far clearer than me.
Did you hear the question, Stuart?
I didn't hear your question.
Well, on the tax-free note as compared to just a regular taxable note, is there more restrictions on one than the other? What's the real difference?
There's really no difference between them. I mean, there's no restrictions on the note, whether it's non-taxable or tax exempt.
Okay.
It's just the way the bank allocates.
Okay.
The philosophy of it is that, obviously you bond it out for more than $10 million, and that's the reason why we're at a non-tax exempt rate. But the alternative is to refinance the note in a following budget year. And I questioned that early on with Jeff, or Commissioner Watts, as to the delivery time. So I know it's approving, y'all are approving it now, but the actual funding date may be in your 2021 budget. But the option would be, if approved on the non-tax exempt rate, would be just refinance that debt at the tax exempt rate in the future budget.
So we're talking about the vehicles we're talking about buying now wouldn't be here until 2021?
I haven't got, I don't know if Chief Choate has confirmation on what the delivery time would be. He might be able to tell us that real quick.
Talking to Caldwell, they have 12 on the lot. And it would be the process, because of all the COVID-19 going through to get the equipment mounted at Cap Fleet just up the road. So that would be the, but they do have 12 now.
Right, but we could still be, 6 months before they could get them upfitted. Correct?
Correct.
I guess the easiest solution to that is, like I was saying, you can approve it at the non-tax exempt rate because that's how you're bound at the time. But in your future budget, going forward, 2021, you can always refinance that debt back down to a non-tax exempt rate.
Okay, but we're not bound to that right now. We haven't borrowed and don't believe we're going to borrow that other money this year. So we're fine at using the tax exempt status.
Okay. Yeah, the quotes themselves, like I said, were estimates based on ready for the road package vehicles. So we have hard quotes from Caldwell, and and then the additional costs were estimated. So the actual number may be a little less, and then obviously the rate would be different as well.
If I calculate this right, Judge, we're about $26,000 per year over our $350 budget. So if you take the total amount of $1,130,555 and divide that by the 3 years, and you do 376,851. So it's just say 372,000, where our budget for vehicles is 350.
At the bottom of the page here, it says we're paying 292, 477, 88.
Well, let's got this total funded
Where are you looking?
equipment and project request.
But that has,
But it depends on when you get delivery. If these 12 vehicles are ordered and they're delivered this year, then the payment is in 2021 budget.
This has an
This is
additional thing.
2020
in-
budget.
okay, 2020 budget, that's their request, but what they're looking at, you're allowed $350,000 for the purchase of 7 vehicles paid outright. This would give you 12 vehicles plus a pickup, to be paid at $292 a year, which would mean there would be no additional vehicle purchases for 560 sheriff's officers.
You could set it up where you paid upfront $350,000, and then the remainder would be financed for starting in 2021.
Right.
You know, Darrell, if you could get delivery this year?
I'm not sure, I would hope so.
That's been the
We
game
haven't gotten
plan.
any vehicles this year, have we?
No, sir.
No. That would be the way to do it. Use the budgeted money as a down payment.
Well, I believe we didn't, if we think we're gonna do any of the other things in 2021, that we borrow that money, we need to try not to, because we're only budgeting $1 million a year for permanent improvement fund to keep up with things. If we had something, some other calamity, and we decreased our cash money by that 250, that could, we're starting to get marginal in what our operating money to carry over, if we're, you know, that in Gatsby principles, to have 3 to 6 months. I hate to keep deteriorating from our fund balance. I'm a little concerned obligating us out in 2021 and 2022 when we have no clue what's going to happen with this company.
So Judge, isn't there some, and it's rumor, I guess, for those are plentiful these days,
Yes, sir.
we could delay our tax due date, our property tax due date? Is there, I've
Haven't seen that.
heard speculation on that, but
I don't know, it would take, if Governor Abbott wanted to extend that, I guess he could do that too.
I mean, I'm talking about backing it up 30, 60, 90 days, whatever that would be, but that would sure change your cash flow situation considerably.
Well, if they back it up, it doesn't hurt us as bad as it hurts the October 1.
Oh, yeah,
Because
the
we're
fiscal
January
year,
1.
yeah, it helped, it's not our big deal. You know, the thing is, guys, we've got a fairly good handle on what we're gonna build, but we don't have a real good handle on what we're gonna collect.
Yeah.
And,
That's the problem.
that's a problem. Boy, there's just so, and I'm like you, Judge, we feel like we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We're about to come out of this deal we've been under for a long time, but we don't have any guarantee of that. Well, if we have another episode, this deal could get, you know, really, really tough.
Yeah.
It's kind of an uneven place to be.
And,
Yeah.
you know, whatever the predictors are right on, which there hasn't been a whole lot, is that we're gonna see round 2 of this in the
Yeah.
fall.
I'm not a sky is falling kind of guy, and you sure gotta look ahead and try to, but you also gotta be, watching the obvious too. Worries me some.
While we're talking about these vehicles, you've got your new constable coming in precinct 1 and new constable in precinct 2, both want vehicles. And, it's funny they didn't mention that during their campaigns. And they also both want raises to start with. But what I'm thinking is, out of those vehicles, Chief, that you all would be turning back in, we pick out 2 best of those, man. But, or is the question, we buy 10 vehicles for the sheriff's office and buy those 2 vehicles? I would tend, in my thinking, to prioritize the sheriff's office. This is a difference in the nature of the 24/7 work compared to the constables. Now, both of them have campaigned and said they're going to be more active constables and whatever, and Constable Jared certainly has put in some things in his budget that indicate that. But, it might be, we have to delay that. They're just not going to be, normally that 400 million, that would have been great. We could have used that for these kind of things. I don't think we're going to, the increase, that's part of that, that's new money. That's not going to be, I don't think our case this year. At least what I plan to propose to you all, the budget.
Judge, if I may, I just,
Yes, sir.
just interject kind of my take on what I see across the state, and to kind of back to the reason why we're doing more units than what they would typically, be able to purchase at one time. It goes back to the age of the fleet. When you've got that many vehicles with the amount of miles that they have on them, we look at the transition as far as costs for maintenance, downtime, that kind of thing. Catastrophes happen in lots of different ways, and vehicles and equipment are definitely included in that. If we run into a point to where we have a hot summer, and these vehicles with 180,000 miles are sitting there idling with the air conditioner on, we have engine loss or transmissions or rear ends. Then we look at it from a standpoint of now we don't have as many units on the road patrolling, for protection in the county, and those types of things. But the other side of the coin is I totally understand this is a hot topic across the nation, that, this is just the first go-round of this virus. But I'll also chime in on Mary's comment as far as I'm not a sky falling type of person either. I believe that Texas is strong and brilliant, and we'll find ways to rebound through this. But we've definitely seen a lot of loss of income and revenues in our county. The bank has been participating in the PPP, Paycheck Protection loan process that's been available, and there's been a lot of need. Our bank has been inundated as well as other banks in the county, and a lot of people have taken advantage of that type of lending. But it's those grassroots taxpayers, the ones that are at home, that are unemployed, haven't been working, have gone without health care. There's a lot more strain to our economy to come. I do believe that. But, when you look at it just from overall, the program really hasn't changed. We look at doing multiple vehicles at a reduced payment to ease the downtime on the department. So, with that, I'll just kind of let y'all finish your conversation.
Well, we were going to ask for a clause in there for payment protection from the lending institution.
Well, Judge, that's already in the contract, it always is, it's the section.
Oh, you're talking about the funding out. That was clever, Stuart. I like it. But I think you would look for us turning the vehicles back to you if we couldn't pay that payment.
Right, the non-appropriations, yes.
Yeah.
And something tells me you don't want them.
No, but, you know, the thing about that clause is, and this is the unspoken part of it, if you were to turn those vehicles in on, if you could appropriate it, you wouldn't be able to rush out and replace them either. And that's where the protection of the law for me
Right.
comes in.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, it would be an adverse effect on the county to not appropriate in that instance, so.
And that's not the way we do business anyway, so.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you do have that right, so I mean, we're well aware of that,
But oddly enough, in the judge's listserv, there are some worried that they, for the first time, with the decrease in oil and gas, the counties that 60 or 80% of their tax value is in oil and gas, and they built new jails, or remodeled courthouses, or done some things, that they are seriously wondering how they're going to pay for that.
Well, and to be honest with you, Judge,
Really,
I
I know that's
hope we're able to be able to get out and get in front of some of these other counties. And if maybe you could post a comment on the listserv. You know, there's always options to refinance it. And, you know, we've done that for several of the counties within our area where they had budget shortfalls in the past. We've gone in and refinanced their debt and skipped payments during a budget year, which adds that revenue back in to cover other expenses. So refinancing will probably be a real hot commodity for counties in the near future. But, you know, Wichita County is a large county, so I mean, your revenues are higher, but your expenses are higher. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a catch-22, I guess, for a lot of them. But, you know, the
Dang if you do, dang if you don't, isn't it?
yeah, that's a big loss. Like, we've had counties in Oklahoma that, you know, 15 days into COVID, were calling asking for non-payment for, 90 days to skip payment. Just because they've seen such a tremendous loss in their fuel revenue.
Well, refinancing that stuff sure does tend to stack up a wall on you though, down the road somewhere. I've been through a little of that, and I don't advise it. Sometimes it's necessary, I understand, but boy, it's, in fact, one of the things that's kind of bothering me about this whole situation we're in, we've got people saying, well, if you don't pay your utility bill this month, we'll push it forward, you don't have to pay it, but it still due. And you miss your house payment this month, but it's still due, and you're gonna have a pretty good hill to climb over out there somewhere, and it's all gonna have to be paid. And that, see, I think that's another part of this whole scenario that we don't really have a clear picture of. How much are we stacking up out there in front of everybody, individually, and as businesses, and as the county?
That's stack debt and then credit card debt.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of toilet paper bought on credit cards here in the last 45 days.
Just save those receipts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I was just,
Billy, do you have anything, Billy, used with American Nationals here? I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add in or questions about what we...
I think that Chief Choate said it well, but when you got those 14 units you're talking about, so with your patrol units, once they reach 120,000 miles, you start seeing your maintenance costs go up. That's why we do that 3-year deal. And that's what we've talked to you about in the past, of doing the 3 years. So you're constantly turning that fleet over, which saves you your maintenance costs. So I would venture to guess the amount of money they're spending on maintenance now could probably make some of this payment. So you're also, yes, you're increasing that cost, and you're putting that out there a couple years in advance, but you're also going to be taking that away from your maintenance budget as well, because it'll be less that you're going to have to do on the newer vehicles.
Commissioner, what is the...
well, I would like to make sure that we move forward with the the purchase of these 13 vehicles, and then to be determined, select our financing once everybody has showed us their cards. So Willie, how long would it take us to see that? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
2.
Should be able to do it in a week or two.
Okay. So that's
Figure
what
out the proposal on the financing. for
On the
bid.
financing for
Okay.
bid.
The other, are we gonna redo that on the other equipment? Or
Yes,
we'll stick with
I
the same?
think once we see this financing, I think we pull that together, and I think that's a good idea. Judge, let Daryl pick. Daryl's cars may be some miles on them, but you can rest assured Daryl Schote has taken care of that car, and it is in good shape. It runs like it's supposed to, and it would be ideal for those boys that are limited mileage drivers. And we could save some money there by putting, if we need to put.
Just hold 2 of them back.
Yeah.
Gosh, what's the estimated value on those mileage cars? Anybody know? I don't have a clue.
You've sold.
And be easy with that term high mileage.
Once you get to, we have a 2014, we just got bids on the other day, it had 120,000 miles on it. My highest bid on that was around 6,000. So you're at 160, you're gonna look $3,000 to $4,000 maybe, not very good.
Which 150, 60,000 miles isn't high mileage.
No, not to me.
You gotta get in that 350, right?
Yeah.
One thing I would suggest, Mr. Watson, if you're planning to move forward with the purchase, I would recommend moving and doing a purchase order for those, because those are sitting on a lot right now, and they won't be there.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. That's what I want to move forward with right
I
now.
was
So
glad to ask for that.
that's my motion, Judge, is that we go ahead and move forward with the purchase of these vehicles and select our financing at the appropriate time. Willie Wall brings us the bids.
Second.
Thank you.
Gosh, I would hope it wouldn't take 6 months if they're sitting on the yard.
It's I think it's a COVID thing, it's got it all messed up.
Nobody's on
Yeah.
duty.
Nobody's buying.
Nobody wants to get 6 foot when each other.
Yeah.
Darrell, I was here when we bought those 15 Tahoes. That was my first year. And I remember that we were trying to institute a plan that we would roll over our vehicles every 3 years. We would try to do that. And we really haven't stuck to that.
Stuart was
He's
involved
here
in those.
8 years.
He was involved in those when we did that.
I didn't remember who did the financing. I just remember we had a plan that,
He was at American National.
American National did.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions? We have a motion then to go ahead and authorize the purchase from Caldwell and financing to determine prior to delivery. Any other comments, any corrections to that? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. I'd rather we weren't doing that, but I think right now is probably a better time to do that until they got those two other. What I'd like to do, hopefully that would time out right to, because they're probably gonna be vehicles that you've got that are striped and everything, patrol vehicles probably, so.
Darrell, can you just make sure that we get those delivered in 2020?
I'm gonna make a phone call right now and see if he can do that.
You know, tell them that's one of the stipulations, so
Yeah, they gotta be delivered this year.
I'm gonna bet they can, you know,
They're on the lot.
Yeah, but some other county might be beating us 10 minutes in with their PO. You never know.
okay.
I'm calling right now.
Very
All right,
good.
thanks, sir.
Thank you all.
Item number 3, we've worked that out, that those positions don't need to be transferred, so that can be removed. Item 4 is discuss, consider, take action, and file in conjunction with 20.0224.138 First National Bank lease. Commissioner Watts, this is on all that equipment. Do you,
Yes, now this will conclude, we'll do this, Judge, and then Stuart is setting on 3 of those precinct 5 rates that we'll look at when we get this.
Okay, but this note is conventional, I mean. don't we-
It is,
or
it
can we
is
change
conventional,
it to-
but we, no, I'd rather us speak to Murphy first. I mean, we're not talking about any length of time. We'll roll all these into the appropriate structure and let us make sure that we are not encumbering ourselves, that there's not a 24-month window or 12 months from now window or anything that would hinder us if we see that we've got the green light and we need to move, that I don't want to have done something that we weren't advised correctly on. So if we just do this note knowing that we'll roll those into, or lump those into one note, since they're all the same age of note, 3-year notes. We've done 2 trucks and this is the 3rd piece of equipment. And
Oh,
they'd be
okay.
all
You're talking
standard.
Precinct equipment.
Yes,
not
sir.
Sheriff's, cars are completely separate.
Cars are
We're gonna
completely
take proposals-
separate.
We're
We'll,
gonna take separate proposals on financing for those. And Stuart, what we're tentatively asking here, since we had made this deal with you, is to look at that and restructure it. But I think Murphy's gonna tell you that it's a calendar year thing, oddly enough, despite physical years are different. And the second thing is that what we do this year is this year. And whether you pay out the money in 3 years, you actually,
right,
you only take it for the year you make the note.
right. And that's certainly what I'm hoping.
So,
But once we get everybody's rate, then we'll know how we want to structure this. But Stuart's been diligent in putting all these together and quickly and getting us covered, and they'll just be sitting there until we make a decision on this new interest.
so no action on that item today.
No, we want to go ahead and conclude this action, Judge, and put that so that we are setting on three notes with Stewart to move however we need to
Okay,
move.
but the rate on this is at 4.75 because it's not bank qualified.
Yes, and so are your other 2. And you may, next month or in 2 weeks, wash them all out with bank qualified.
Oh, okay, I'm following. Okay, so we go back on, all right.
I mean, it cost you $5 a 10 in interest, but that's all we're looking at. I mean, it's no money.
Okay.
That way it keeps them together, it keeps them sound, and we can move them how we need to
Together.
move them.
Is there any fee, Stuart, when we change these over? Is there something sir?
No, there's no,
Okay, I didn't think so, but I just.
that was it. And that's, like I said, that's what we had originally discussed was, at the time we were advised by Murphy Davis for the non-tax exempt rate, but knowing that we'd be able to refinance them, so yeah, there's no penalties or anything like that involved.
Okay, so we'll wind up putting 3 notes together and they'll be all in the precinct 1 through 5.
Yes, and then, but Judge, we probably, within a short 30-day period, will restructure those. And Stuart's always had the best interest when we talk about bank qualified or tax exempt status notes, then, I mean, they've always been down there ahead of those others. So we just want to look at the number. This is strange times and we've got cheap money out there. So we want to look at who's offering what.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Is that a motion then?
Yes, that's a motion.
Who's second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Harvey to approve the item. As stated, any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 5, discuss and consider to take action to authorize the county judge to sign the Wichita County Tax Reinvestment Zone guidelines and criteria. Resolution declaring Wichita County's eligibility and intention to participate in tax abatement programs to promote development or redevelopment in certain areas of the county. Commissioners, you all were given that, and look at it, I have some notes I have made on it to revise that, and I know Commissioner Watts, I thought you had some thoughts on that. We talked about quite some time about it. Do you have anything you want to lead off with?
Judge, how does this guideline affect the reinvestment zone? And Tracy, you may know as well, that electors considering with the solar plan. It encompasses the whole county, correct?
Yes. And now, we've done, you don't want to get tax income financing and tax abatement mixed together. They are completely separate. Tax abatement, the thing we adopted a long time ago said we will parallel what the local city's policy. In other words, we provide a tax abatement in Burke Burnett for their hotel. We haven't done that inside Wichita Falls, but now we have a request when they do this new downtown hotel. Center is on the original building, it would be abated. The second building, when they do it, it would not. But what I looked at in this, it says, paragraph 8, the designation of redevelopment zone for tax abatement expires 5 years after. Okay, Dan, you need to call it back in.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
Nancy, man.
I'd have to be orientated.
It's just like dialing a regular phone. It's really-
You gotta have a number.
Yeah, it's right there on the sheet of paper.
Oh.
DR
But
4.
we have to figure out which one of the numbers it is, though, because there's 3 different ones down there.
I don't know if that disconnected everybody.
Does that time out, Judge? Is that what happened?
No, someone hung up.
It's something about when you hang up on that one, then it won't
Okay.
drop it.
So you're saying by this, the term would expire over 5 years and we have a renewal option at the end of each 5-year period?
Yeah, that's it in there, and we haven't pushed that one, but quite frankly, these 20-year ones, at 100%,
And the one in Burke has been extended.
yeah,
It was 20 years and they extended it 5 more.
yeah, and that's legal, but I think we need to drop back and we need to, that says it here, but we haven't invoked that, but I think we really seriously need to look at that in these things.
Is that on the TIF?
That's on the tip.
Yeah.
And the other thing, so we look at that, and then in number 9, it says tax abatement agreement may provide for up to, not to exceed 100%. Well, that's an interesting statement. What I'm saying here, abatement, this is an add-on, abatement will not include interest and sinking taxes or special road and bridge fund taxes. Because quite frankly, what happens,
That's how we fund our debt service.
And
yeah, so it adds to the tax amount because it's computed in there that you're going to lose that tax revenue, so it inflates,
Everybody else's portion.
yeah.
Well, and that's a problem sometimes when you get this development going. You've got to do some right-of-way work. You've got.
Well, that's basically what the TIF is for, is all the taxes that they collect from
Yeah.
the people that are in the TIF zone
Reinvest in.
to reinvest in
Try to
infrastructure
redevelop.
in that
To try to
TIF.
redevelop, but I
Correct.
haven't seen any of that money coming back to our road and bridge efforts.
No, we've been giving it all to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem is, and that's one of the things about the solar program that I've been studying on, there's gonna be some major road use, and it's gonna create some problems, and that's something that we're gonna have to take into consideration.
Well, and I think the other thing we need to look at is, the payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah.
Because you can give them a reduced amount, you're still getting revenue, but that's aside from figuring into.
And it's something they can
the
budget.
tax rate.
They can budget that, know,
Yeah.
this is what we're gonna owe every year. And the thing about ad valorem tax, you really don't know.
No.
that makes it a lot easier for the party to say, okay, it's gonna cost us $50,000 a year, and that's what it's gonna be for the next 10 years. That has some merit.
And typically, Barry, I would rather it be that way. I mean, I would rather it be a fixed amount. We say, hey, we're, you know,
It's good on our side too.
yeah.
Yeah, budget standpoint. It gives us an idea of the investment that we're making in the deal, and we do make an investment.
And I guess we're within our rights to, so, tax increment financing doesn't obligate us for any period of time when we participate. So I knew that we were certainly eligible to set the percentage of participation, but I didn't know if the timeline, if we can only participate half of the time.
Well, it's 5, isn't it?
I think it's 5 years.
It's a 5-year deal.
Yeah,
You
and I can't
renegotiate.
tell you whether there's legal basis in that, and maybe we want to give council a chance to look at that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any imperative on taking the action today, but when we do this, I think we need to then send it to each of the governmental entities, and so they'll know things aren't as usual, because we put a lot of time and money in time out of the tax office, the auditor's office, the appraisal district, in trying to get the 4 TIFs straight.
Well, if we do a new TIF, we need to make sure we don't split properties.
Well, we need the appraisal district, we need the tax office and all involved
That's right.
in upfront. Say, how can we make this
Well,
simpler?
They are,
Yeah.
but sometimes, when you're looking at 160 properties, you don't catch.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
And that we realized, and I've been involved in the TIF and one of them here in Wichita Falls, and that's something that we didn't even really consider going in. We were using physical barriers, streets, and that's not always the best way to define that. And I think we really need some involvement. And I don't know that needs to be in the agreement. We could do that internally,
Yeah.
I assume, when we're putting our proposal together. But we need to make sure before we enter into one that we make it as easy as we can to do the billing and the
Splitting
maintenance.
tracks.
Not splitting the tracks.
Yeah,
And it probably wouldn't hurt to have a statement in there
absolutely.
that
My comments when we were talking about the possible TIP deal on the hotel deal over here at City Council that morning is that we certainly want to have those people involved in the planning that are gonna have to sort this thing out and keep it balanced year to year. We don't wanna get in one of those wrecks where everybody gets behind, it's a problem. We need to simplify it up front and better define it.
And the auditor has the calculation,
Yeah,
and looking at that to make sure that we're following that INS rate correctly, that we're not double dipping or halfway dipping, because we have, in essence, or did pay our TIF INS dollars that, maybe are taken account for in our effective rate calculation, our new
Right.
rate
it's just so much
calculation.
easier to get it structured right up front than to go back and try to clean it up. And
Sure,
that's kind of where we
absolutely.
were on that last one. Let's make sure we're streamlined as we can be.
Jeff, do you know if all TIP funds have been paid out?
I think with just the exception of the holdback on INS on this 18 payment, to get a clarification, that's the only thing I don't
we're gonna
know.
try to have that, I think, on next Monday's payments.
So,
The entities have talked, is what I understand, so the ladies that, are over that in each entities.
If you don't have it right, it gets into a finger pointing contest down the road, and then that gets counterproductive, and we just need to not do that.
see, in essence, if you have, for simplistic reasons, $100 that is needing to be paid in debt service, and you capture that with values outside of the TIF zone, and you make that $100 payment, then there is no INS payment on the properties in the TIF zone, even though there has to be an INS calculation because those people are paying the tax to it. But then we back out that number when we perform the effective rate calculation.
So INS is designated from the source. And if that source is different from that, then there's no responsibility. Is that what I hear you saying?
Well, we are being reimbursed, or should I say we are given the credit for the collection of that money against the effective rate. It's not penalizing us
Right.
against that, so.
Okay, so y'all want to hold off a week then on doing anything with that?
Yes, and maybe Tracy to have a chance to look at some of the TIF, and I know they're vague, Tracy, out there, but
So just a little light reading.
But Tracy, we have an advocate in Deb Wheeler with Purdue, Brandon and Fielder, the law firm that collects our taxes. And she has the most experience in the state of Texas, comes from the comptroller's office, 30-year experienced person. And she is as knowledgeable as anyone out there. And she can help us or maybe review some of the things that would be advantageous to consider here. And she does that even for the state of Texas currently. The new calculation for tax rates, that new form, she's on the development team that's putting the new form together that we will calculate our new rate with.
What are we gonna watch, Judge?
Well, I'll show you that. So, Texas Public Information Office, thing on explaining the COVID regulations. What do we have next on the agenda?
Here, boss.
Oh, okay.
LEC update.
Okay, Commissioner Beecham, would you like to please?
Not much to report. Everything's flowing along really well out there. They should start drywall this week.
Really?
So one side drywall,
Wow.
insulation, get the inspection, and the other side drywall. It's,
Coming right along.
man, you can walk through there and you can tell where everything is and what it's supposed to be. It's really jumping right now. It's like an anthill.
Yeah.
Nothing big, no big milestones.
Okay. Mr. Beecham, do you have anyone in the audience have anything to bring up? And is all this eye-opening information we've given you today? All right. Mr. Beecham, anything in general remarks?
No, sir.
Mr. Harvey?
We're working on roads, doing that. We get all that over at Precinct 1 done. We'll turn in everything, get that stuff
Hopefully
off print.
today, Mark will be,
Yeah, they'd already made one pass by 8:15.
Yeah.
well, I saw Jerry headed out there real early this morning. I took off for Electra and he was already headed
I
out.
imagine they're already done with the machine.
We just need to get it off print ASAP.
Yeah, and he told me, I talked to JB and he said that John was unable to take it home Wednesday, is when we were gonna be through with it, but JB said, no, don't worry, just take it home, bring it home when you can. I'm not in dire straits for it or anything, so. He acted like that would be more reasonable than us contracting somebody to come get it.
Commissioner Mall?
Just kind of the same thing. We've gotten a lot of road work done in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and, you know, sometimes we don't think about it, but our road crew's been working every day. they out there and been after it. In fact, I think it's been some of the most productive weeks we've had, and maybe because there's not as many distractions.
I agree.
Not very much traffic.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
true.
been bad. So, a shout out to those guys that show up every day and work hard and get it done. And they're getting it done, and we do appreciate it. We don't want to forget them when we look at those people that have really stepped up during this deal. So, anyway, that's time moves on.
Yes.
Commissioner Watts.
Yes, we have made tremendous headway the last week on County Line and the County Line project, and that's going to be so much better once it's up and going. James Brockreed, local large farmer in northwest corner of the county, has been very helpful, and we're able to take some dirt out of close proximity. What I saw this morning, though, was disheartening as we've run that over. So County Line and Lake Road both are in need of work and been in need of it, and oh boy, are they in need of it now, because they have not held up well with those
Need
belly
base,
dumps
don't they?
running up and down, and so we're going to have to go in with some millings and overlay some of this stuff to buy us some time and get that laid back down. Judge, if we could, on a separate note, set up something maybe and visit through. We do need to make a absolute call on this situation as to what we're going to do and fund and make it. And I'd like to have Murphy involved in the discussion, just to give us that input as to what to think about or pay attention to.
You want to try to do that for Friday, because we're.
That'd be great if we could set it up
In
like
that work
that.
session.
Be good.
Okay. And then Lisa gave me updated my spreadsheet for tax. We're looking at an increase. Last year we were 3.15%. This year we're 4.26% increase.
Tax base increase.
Yes, so if you remember last year, that it created $1.5 million, which, bear in mind, 3.5% is all we're able to do, so we're not even able to take the increase, even though that this increase, if we wanted to, we couldn't do that, which we haven't wanted to do, and we want to lower the tax rate, but at the same time, we're unable to do that with this influx. And in speaking with Lisa, the number of days that a home is on the market has decreased, and the real estate market is still very strong and very hot, and it pushes these values, and you see it all the way into Dallas, the big circle around Dallas. So anyway, that's where we're at, but 4.26 is how it come in. I knew we talked about just 3.9 or something on Friday, but it actually come in at 4.26.
I had a question over the weekend, and I couldn't answer knowledgeably, was whether we used a contract firm to evaluate properties, or we did it with our in-house.
We do all of our property, Judge, in-house solely. Only thing that's contracted is the Pritchard and Abbott.
That's what I thought, but I
Oil and gas.
wanted to double check that.
I want to, as soon as we're able to, Judge, have a someone like Deb, or who she would recommend, Wheeler, come and speak to us. I want y'all to understand what's happening with mineral values in our area, because just consider this. So, and when I was at tax appraisal school, and this was baffling to me, that you have, so Barry, if your family all owns property, your family's all paying property taxes on it. There's no way out of that. Everybody that belongs to the Mahler family is paying property taxes. But if the Mahlers, if you are the 6th generation that inherited mineral on that property, if the working interest owner of those leases cannot find, because they're not required by law to go and record with Lori's office, who owns that mineral, then the state of Texas receives the money. And until the legwork's done on that, there could be working wells, so just follow this thought, there could be working wells with only 50% of the people paying their property taxes on that mineral interest. The other half of the mineral interest can't be found and not paying anything. So what happens? Minding your property taxes have to take that value out of the equation. So that's not fair, and it shouldn't be that way, and it shouldn't be tricky and complex the way it is. So if the legislature wants to get involved and change something, that's paramount that they fix, because it is happening and they don't want to fix it because that money rolls right now. It's Wichita County's ad valorem tax dollar that is getting sent to the state of Texas and remaining there because it's just convoluted. Pritchard and Abbott can go after it, not Pritchard and Abbott, Purdue and Fielder can go after it, but it's complex, it's difficult, and they should be able to sell. If half of those minerals aren't being paid, they should sell out here on the courthouse steps and do it this quick and get the new people.
There's not good records.
Not good records. So
That's just another
anyway,
example of what happens.
Well, but look at those number of things that are just swept to the side, like that, the sales tax money.
I'm telling you.
You know, it's
lots of
just
different-
amazing how by default, or that 2 cents on fireworks that we never see.
A lot of things leaving.
Yeah.
Just one quick question, Judge, I know
Yes.
we need to move on. Jeff brought it to my mind, I'll forget it if I don't bring it up right now. Where are we on our millings deal? Don't we have some?
we have some millings over at Mounted Patrol, and I'm not aware that we have captured those. It's not very many at this allocation, but we'll have a
Rifle Range
re-request in
Road.
July.
Rifle Range Road is where the millings are
I know, but we
piled.
need some right now to build this base that we've been working on. Well, we could use it. I just thought if we're gonna move it, we could move it straight to the
Sure could.
job site. I forgot about it. We
I
hadn't
called
talked about it in a
Romer to
while.
find out.
Yeah.
We sent the last letter in.
And we've been given the allocation, Barry, it's just not at the initial is not very big,
No,
but
it's-
we have a re-request that'll happen once those allocations aren't placed or taken by
I
other
was thinking it
commissioners'
was
courts.
like a couple of belly dump loads of precinct or something. It wasn't a big deal, but
No.
we can sure use them right now.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Gage.
On evaluations, do we know what percentage of new development properties we have?
How much?
I don't have that breakdown. Willie, did you see that? Did you see that number? I
think it was
didn't
all right.
break it out of mine.
It's not in that letter.
It's not in that letter?
New values that came onto the rolls for this time, how much?
That wasn't listed.
Okay.
We don't have any idea what's new.
Yeah,
at this point.
not yet, I haven't heard, Mark.
Okay. I just had one short announcement. Mr. Beecham's gonna get a year older on us this Friday, so congratulations.
Yay.
All right, this
Well,
little tidbit I'm gonna tease with you a bit here is from the Texas Public Information Officer named Adley Stump, and she makes this presentation. Let me see if I can get this up here right.
This profile gauge can be used to measure the shape of irregular items to create an instant template for marking precise cuts as it perfectly conforms to shape and holds its
You
boundary.
better run and get one of those. I've actually got one. It works pretty good. Oh, here we go. I've seen that.
So you turn it up, so
That's
you
what I was trying to do. Where'd my arrow go? This arrow flies across.
Well, you got a TV changer? Turn the TV volume up, Judge. See if that'll work.
We need to start it over.
Yeah, you gotta get the whole thing to. It's all the way
It's
up
wide
to
open.
100.
Okay, it's gotta be on. Let me just find it. See the arrow mark? There it is.
Well, Mark just turned that little thing, the light just come on the sound bar.
That's just it, the sound deal's not.
Well, damn.
Oh,
Just say.
make that go.
I gotta get that out of the way.
6 hours, but in most cases, it's days and not hours.
Yeah, it's under that box right there.
Dry in the air. Unless the air is plastic.
No, it's still right there. On the
Homeschool your
bottom.
children unless you can send them to school because you are not home. If you are at home, you can school your children using various portals.
But it's right there, it's below. Is that-
It's not coming out of there.
Oh, it's not coming out, okay.
Started over.
Or art. If you are home
Okay.
educating, you can include household chores within
Yeah,
their
you can't get
education
full
curriculum.
effect unless you
And
see
if you
the
are
whole
home
thing. It's-
educating, you may start
if this is
drinking at
not
approximately
government
10
work, I
a.m.
don't know
every
what
day.
is.
If you are not home educating children, you may also start drinking at approximately 10 a.m. Masks are
See this little deal right here?
against the virus,
Click on that.
but you still need
I
to
would
wear
if I
one
could find
unless
the
you say
arrow.
It's right here, your arrow is right here.
There we go.
Click on that.
See that white
you get
arrow,
like
that
that,
white
don't you?
background.
another job
Okay,
elsewhere,
that's-
you may go to work.
That's close
Clear?
enough.
So let's take a minute, let's go over them again. First, you must not leave the house for any reason, unless of course you have a reason, and then you may leave the house. All stores are closed except those that are open, and all stores must close unless, of course, they need to stay open. This virus is deadly, but don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, there
it can
you
only
go,
kill
right
people who
there.
are vulnerable.
So,
Yeah.
good.
We're not
That's it.
vulnerable. We should stay locked down until the virus stops infecting people. And it will only stop infecting people if enough of us get infected that we build immunity. So it is very important that we get infected and also do not get infected. You should not go to the doctor's office or the hospital unless you have to go there. Unless, of course, you are too sick to go there. This virus has no effect on children except for those children in which it affects. The virus remains active on different surfaces for 2 hours or 4 hours. It's days and not hours, and it needs a damp environment, or a cold environment that is warm and dry in the air, unless the air is plastic. Schools are closed, so you need to homeschool your children unless you can send them to school because you are not home. If you are at home, you can school your children using various portals and online classrooms unless you have poor internet, more than one child, only one computer, or you are working from home. Baking cakes can be considered math, science, or art. If you are home educating, you can include household chores within their education curriculum. And if you are home educating, you may start drinking at approximately 10 a.m. every day. If you are not home educating children, you may also start drinking at approximately 10 a.m. Masks are buy a bunch of toilet paper, but you should buy some in case you need it. If you are sick, you may go out once you are better, but those in your household, they cannot go out once you are better unless, of course, they need to go out. Animals are not affected by the virus, except for that cat that tested positive in Belgium in February, plus a couple tigers. The number of corona-related deaths will be announced daily, but we don't know how many people are infected because we were only testing those who are almost dead to determine if that's what they will die of. The people who die of corona who are not counted won't or will be counted, but maybe not. To help protect yourself during these times, you should be eating well and exercising, but exercising only eating what you have at home to avoid going to the stores unless you need toilet paper or a fence panel. It's important to get fresh air, but don't go to parks, but do go walk in other places. Just don't sit down unless you are old or pregnant. But if you do sit down, don't sit for too long unless you are old and you are pregnant, in which case you need to sit down. If you do sit down, don't eat unless you've had a long walk, which you are allowed to do if you are old or pregnant, except for times in which you aren't. Don't visit old people, but you have a moral obligation to take care of old people and bring them food and medicine. And finally, no businesses will go down due to coronavirus except those businesses that go down due to COVID-19. I hope this cleared up any questions about what we should and should not be doing during this time. Please educate your friends and family with this information so we can remove any and all confusion surrounding this time. Thank you.
Reminds me of a meteorologist.
Are you tired of
It
the
might
media
rain,
spinning the
but it
truth
might
and
not.
pushing false narratives?
Yeah.
Well, take a look at this. Over the last 3 years, while the establishment media was pushing false narratives,
Do not go to work, but you can get another job, which you can go to work at, unless you can't get another job.
This lady is a country western Emmy award singer, but a comedian. and she does all kinds of things like this. I didn't know who she was. Chris looked it up and found it. But it is so right on.
Yeah.
We've been there, Ted. We've been there.
Yeah.
Just the last
A
month.
couple of t-shirts.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else to be brought before we adjourn this meeting?
We were discussing that one last week, so it sounds exactly like all the news that came out right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Don't do this unless you have to do this, and then
Yeah.
just
Don't
back.
go to work unless you need a job.
Right.
I can't wait till we can watch a 30-minute newscast and not have one story on the coronavirus. I can't wait for that day. That's gonna be tremendous.
How do you not have a question?
Yes.
When's our partitions gonna be put up?
I had a call from them while I'm sitting here in court. Yeah, don't answer it, so.
And then, what's the recommendation for the people in the courthouse that have more than, 10 employees?
Watch that video again, you'll find
Yeah.
Was that not clear enough?
Well,
If you get social distancing, if you can move them out or alternate days, it's whatever you all, that's why when I sent that out, I said, you all figure out how you're gonna run your offices.
okay.
You know, the request is to have the offices open and provide service somewhere or other, you know.
Yeah, we've been open this whole time.
I know you have, and I appreciate that, and I hope that a lot of other people, other offices have not been open and have impaired people trying to, you know, get answers. There's no one answering the phone. That's
Yeah,
kind of swirly.
we know. Well,
I know you
brought
know,
my
'cause we
whole
get the
staff
calls.
back in today, so I need to go back to, because I can't put them 6 feet apart.
Okay, then
So
I'd
Then I
continue,
go back
yeah,
to the
alternate.
thing, okay.
You know, the schedule you worked out, 2.5 and 2.5, I thought was a good schedule. We've done some here, we're back to pretty much full-time
I
in
mean,
here.
we've been open full time.
Yeah.
I mean, on
You have,
Fridays, I
and you
think
have.
we may close 10 or 15 minutes early, but there's nobody coming in,
No,
so. But we've been here full time.
I just didn't know if, you know, that they say Texas is now open, if that meant pushing everybody back. or
if you've been open, you can go to 50%. If you hadn't been open, you go to 25%. Unless you're in a county that's had 5 or fewer cases of COVID.
Okay, we're done, thank you.
That sounds good.
And you were actually right. I mean, you weren't making that up.
No, that's in there.
Actual rules.
But
And if Cinco de Mayo falls on a Tuesday, which will be known as Taco Tuesday, then
But you shouldn't.
that
Taco
changes
Tuesday,
everything.
we run full staff.
Oh, okay.
Happy Friday, Dave.
All right.
Okay, thank you all. It is 11:23 and we're adjourned.